Richmond captain Trent Cotchin makes his panel debut. Plus, Luke Hodge live ahead of his 300th game. The Footy Show, Thursday, 8:30 on 9.
This morning on the Sunday Footy Show, it's on. Damien Hardwick takes aim at Kane Corns after the Saints do a demolition job to the tune of 77 points on the Tigers. And that's pushed their case for a top 4 finish. St Kilda veteran Lee Montagna joins us on the panel. The Giants become the first side in 96 years to play out back-to-back draws after a dramatic final minute in Tassie. Players from both sides, Giant Adam Tomlinson and Hawk Tom Mitchell, both join us live. The Cats cement their spot in the top 4, breezing past the Lions at the Gabba. Tom Lonigan joins us fresh from Game 200 to discuss his career and the Cats' finals fortunes. Bucks concedes the Pies have hit tipping point. Plus, the Dogs' premiership hangover continues in Adelaide, and we've got your back, Kane. Sunday Footy Show. Oh, yes, indeedy. Welcome to the Sunday Footy Show. It is on for young and old as we start to welcome the panel from this end. It's the man himself. Well, you've been inspired by Jeff Horn or something, haven't you?
No. The Premiership reunion, we do it every Thursday before the grand final, 2004. It's going to be a little bit interesting this year, TJ.
We need to say, of course, that you're in dispute at the moment with Damien Hardwick. He had some pretty harsh words to say about you on the back of a not-so-harsh tweet.
He's in dispute with me. I've got no issue with him, but I just thought Richmond were really poor last night.
OK, well, hold fire. We'll get to that in a moment. Also, the champion himself, Matthew Lloyd. How are you, mate?
Good, TJ, but I'm sick of our panellists upsetting Richmond people. So
I know, because this man on my left, Damien Barrett, has been upsetting Neil Barmley. Mate, what are you doing to Barmley?
That happens on a weekly basis, TJ. Barmley's not happy with anyone in the media.
Yeah, he's all right with it.
Oh, well, maybe go a bit harder.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, righto, don't I? I'll do that, mate. Might boost my Twitter account. All right, and of course, Nathan Brown's here as well. G'day, Nath.
G'day, TJ. Saw the Bombers play yesterday. They were very, very good against the Pies after last week going down to the Lions.
And filling in for a holidaying Billy Brownless is the Saint star himself, Joey Montagna. How are you, Joey?
Morning, TJ. Good, thanks. Picked a good morning to come in.
Yeah, you certainly did, didn't you? Yeah, that would have been in the forefront of your mind too, of course. Yeah. All right, let's take a look at the results so far. And this is how it looks so far for this round of football. Adelaide, big winners over the Western Bulldogs. We'll hear from the coach, the Doggies coach, that is, a little later on. Also, Hawthorn and the Giants, as we said in the intro there, a draw again for the Giants. Essendon, big winners over Collingwood, the ramifications of which we're about to talk about. The Sydney Swans, huge winners over Gold Coast. Geelong getting the job done emphatically over the Brisbane Lions. And Joey's boys, what was that margin, Joey?
67 points.
What was that margin, Joey?
Could have been more.
OK, 67-point winners over Richmond. And Nath, take us through the ladder.
Adelaide, GWS at the top, but you don't know how they're going to go. Geelong have been the big movers. Richmond, poor last night, but look at the Saints going. And Sydney, 0-7. Now look at them. They are 0-6. I mean, they are flying at the moment. The Demons got a big game against the Blues today. West Coast Eagles can go into the 8 with a win against Port Adelaide. The Bombers knocking on the door. The Dogs are gone. The Hawks still an outside chance. The Pies are gone. Carlton can move up, playing better footy. And the Lions are going OK.
Well, Carlton and North Melbourne can move up and relinquish Collingwood down to second last on the ladder. And that wasn't helped by the mood at the MCG yesterday. Essendon, big winners. We're not taking anything away from Essendon. But Damo, as you would know, the story is Nathan Buckley.
Yeah, it is. And given now, TJ, as you say, they could finish the weekend in they've been asking all season. And what they dished up against Essendon yesterday, TJ, is just yet another bad chapter in the Nathan Buckley story.
Well, is there anyone on the panel that thinks Nathan Buckley will coach Collingwood next year?
No.
Nope.
Joey, I won't ask you.
No.
But that was a no, was it?
No, I don't know.
No, you don't want me to ask.
The language is changing.
But how do they do it, Damo?
Well, you know, as you do know, TJ, with 1999, when Eddie Maguire first took over at Collingwood Footy Club, there was a favourite son in the coaching chair then in Tony Shaw. And I've always felt that whatever happens, Nathan Buckley is going to be party to the decision. He's obviously not contracted beyond this year, and the club has very, I think, cleverly left that open to this point, because that would have been a whole lot messier had they listened to some people and said, let's make it longer. But Eddie Maguire's not in Australia, or hasn't been in Australia this past week. Nothing will happen until he gets back. But I wouldn't be surprised now if all parties involved at least start having the potential around that conversation. And just the language, TJ, post-match, Nathan Buckley's changed it a little bit. Have a listen to this. He's very reflective, very open.
Yeah, the players are feeling it. I'll defend them to the hilt. They've given everything they've got to this point. You know, we saw a bit of as I said, there was a bit of a tipping point today. I'm pragmatic, but I'm not defeatist. I do my job as well as I possibly can, and try and encourage others to do theirs as well as they possibly can. There's two things in it. I think there's hard work and there's talent. I'm working really hard.
Are you concerned that the situation of coaching could impact the team?
They're only human, and there's no doubt that it does. There's no doubt that it does impact in some shape or form, but that's the reality, and it ain't changing.
I'll tell you what, he might be on his way out, but he'll walk out with his head held high. That had class written all over it, didn't it, the way he handled himself?
He is a class act, and probably the thing that I start thinking about is if Collingwood are looking to attract some players, and well, the first thing a player will ask was who's going to be our coach next year. So they're all the decisions that Collingwood need to look at moving forward for next year.
Well, as a player, if you're going to go to a club like Collingwood, they're going to make the right decision. They're a very, very good club, Collingwood. Great sponsors, great supporters. You wouldn't expect them... if you sign with them and they didn't have a coach at that point, I think you could be safe to say they would make a good decision.
Did they make a good decision with the Kirribilli agreement?
It doesn't...
No is the answer.
Well,
you can't take that for
it
granted,
looked
Brownie.
okay.
Brownie, you cannot take that for granted that they will make the right decision. The player needs to know who's going to be his
different from
coach.
back 10, 15 years ago when they used to do it.
Lordie's point's really valid, though. If you are a Jake Lever, for instance, you couldn't possibly sign for a club without knowing who the coach is. I wouldn't have thought.
Well, Joey, would you?
It would make it much more difficult, absolutely, if you weren't sure about the coach's future.
Well, am I right in saying every player on this panel has at some point in their career been at a club when all this sort of talk has been generated about your coach?
Yeah, 2010, Mark Williams lost his job with 7 games to go. Matthew Promise took over. It was a massive distraction for the players. We went on to win 5 out of the last 7 with Promise as a caretaker coach. And I just feel like the story is Nathan Buckley now. I think it would be a good move to step down because then we start talking about the Collingwood Footy Club and where to next rather than constantly making it about Bucks, as harsh as that sounds.
I'd love to see Nathan coach out the season because I don't think Nathan's the type to walk away unless he does feel like it is becoming too big a distraction. But I'd love to see Nathan, for all he's been to Collingwood, coach out the rest of the season.
I don't for a moment think that the board will sack Nathan Buckley. I think he will fall on his sword. Now, whether the board push him onto that, I'm not too sure. But I don't think that we'll see him exit the club before the end of the year because what purpose does that serve? And also they'll allow him to have a dignified exit.
Yeah, there's a massive amount of respect both ways this way, but I think there is, TJ, a realisation now it has not worked after the 6 years. Whatever they've got left, they're going to be missing one of their players for at least 1 week, maybe 2, maybe 3. Levi Greenwood did this yesterday on merit, and while it's not in the bug or hoolie categories, it's still a head-high contact. Well, not the way
maybe
Merritt
a
reacted,
one-weeker,
but
maybe 2 down to 1 because he came back on, he was okay after that, so he played out the game okay. I reckon he sort of got him under the throat and then it rolled up to his chin, so if it had been maybe 4 inches high, he might have been in a lot more trouble.
We're going to catch up with David Zaharakis on the program a little later on. We'll ask him about that.
Yeah, they were fantastic yesterday. The Essendon Football Club got back on track and just their forward options. Fantasia kicking 5, Danaher kicking 3, Stewart's dangerous. They just had far too much skill and options across the board than Collingwood did. Down the other end, obviously Mason Cox, Ben Reid just didn't work, so dominant display yesterday.
Now, Joey, I know that when you came in this morning, you said, can I have a little bit of plasma time? Well, I'm sorry, mate, but Nathan's very protective about his plasma time.
I've heard.
Yeah, well, sit back and enjoy this.
Hey, we asked Jamie Elliott on radio after the game yesterday what was Collingwood's game plan when they wanted to move the ball, and he said, want to move the ball through the middle of the ground with angle kicks so we can get into the forward line very quickly. So that is their game plan, but they don't do that or they elect not to or they can't execute those skills. Have a look at Collingwood and how many times they kick backwards. Have a look at this in the middle of the ground here. This is a player who can run with the footy, Treloar. He's got options on the handball, but he decides to go backwards, which holds play up, which holds Collingwood up, and they get into a bad decision. Have a look at this one. Whereas if you go back the other way, you've got players here who can play on the other side of the ground for overlap. But have a look where this ball goes. It doesn't give your forwards any chance going up the field. This kick from Langdon, it doesn't give your forwards any chance. There's nowhere to go for here. There's only to the boundary line and he misses the kick. So Collingwood do that time and time again. Now, you have a look at the Bombers, and the Bombers take the game on. The Bombers want to move the ball through the middle, and when they do kick it backwards, it goes to a player who can play on. Have a look at the first one here, Hurley. This is an attacking backwards kick. So this player here, Bagley, he can play on because he's got players up the ground that can go. Now, look at this one, Joe Danaher. He can go wide, or he can take it by the bit, go through the middle, and have a look at this screen here at the end. Have a look at how many players that bypasses, that one kick that goes through the middle that the Bombers took on, but the Pies didn't.
All right, and as we said, we'll catch up with David Zaharakis a little later on and we'll have a look at the Bombers' fantastic performance in detail. They are banging on the door of the 8. Now, Joey, Okay, Saturday night, Etihad Stadium last night. How good was this?
Yeah, it was good. We played some exceptional footy in the first half, and it was great for our fans that all came out to watch a big occasion. And yeah, boys couldn't have played much better early.
Oh, they were sensational. The Saints just thought their pressure. Bang! You kicked a couple of those, Joey. It was fantastic last night. I just thought the way the Saints pressured Richmond, they kicked 15 goals, 6 from Richmond turnovers. Pressure the Tigers just couldn't handle. Loved the move of Riewoldt on Rance. He took 12 marks. Nick Riewoldt, 3 goals, was one of the best players on the game. Loved what St Kilda did last night.
You love what St Kilda did, Kane, but you didn't like what you saw with Richmond. 15 minutes into the second quarter, you took to Twitter and said if a top 4 side concedes 32 inside 50s inside 45 minutes of play, it means you've got ahead of yourself. No other explanation. Now, that got some traction between that being sent and the rest of that game, and then it got some serious traction post-match. Your former teammate, your premiership teammate of 2004, Damien Hardwick, the Richmond coach, not happy.
On social media, there's a comment from Kane Corns saying that there was no question that the Richmond guys had got ahead of themselves.
Seriously, I'd love to see Kane. I'd really love to see Kane.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong. That's his job.
Sure.
He's there to write comments.
Okay. But do you give that any credibility, though?
Please.
Oh, Kane, haven't you upset the... I've got to say, as soon as your name was mentioned, he seemed to bristle. Did you not get on when you played?
No, we were fine when we played. I think I've made some comments about Richmond in the last 18 months that he hasn't been happy with, but rightly so. You know, they've been poor for 10 years, the Tigers, or over. They haven't won a final since 2001. And the fact that I said they got ahead of themselves, I can't think of another explanation, because coming to that game, everyone thought the Tigers were going to win. Last week after the game, Damien Hardwick said that the best is yet to come for the Tigers, and then they served that up. And they're not the first side to get ahead of themselves. Lots of sides have done it before. They'll do it again. And if you come in just a fraction off, thinking it's going to happen, listening to your coach last week saying the best is yet to come, and then you serve up 43 inside 50s against in a half of footy, what does that say about your club?
You're disappointed he got personal with you?
Not really. I think...
Were you surprised?
Yeah, I was surprised with the language he used. I haven't seen him or any other coach...
questioning your credibility.
Yeah, I haven't seen him or any other coach swear in a post-match press conference. But let's not take that comment away from what the story should be. St Kilda, extremely good, but Richmond... so poor, and they've got questions to ask, and he should be asking those questions.
It's pretty innocuous sort of a comment from Kane, really, isn't it? I mean, it didn't warrant that response, did it?
I would have thought so, but look, he can react whatever way he wants, Damien Hardwick, and he did. I was surprised he bought into it, because I would have thought he might have had bigger issues to worry about, given that was their worst performance of the year.
Hey, Joey, one of your dominant players for a long period of time has been Jack Stephen, just another 33 disposals.
Yeah, he's probably had a few quiet weeks in the last month or so getting tagged, but he went head-to-head with Cochin last night and played terrific, so it was good to see. Good to see him back in form and kick a couple of goals, because you're right, he's our best player in the team, and good to see him up and going.
Would you say he's beat your best player?
He's probably our best player. He's won three Trevor Barker medals, and as I said, he's been a little bit down this season because he's been heavily tagged, but it was good to get off the chain last night. Another mate who probably didn't have his kicking boots on last night was Josh Bruce. 2 goals, 5 for the big fella, and we see him miss another one from the goal scorer. It's becoming a bit of a habit for Brucey, but... I just want to show him this is how it should be done, boys. That's not that hard, Brucey. Just go back.
You are the new...
Give me a contract.
you are the new Matthew Lloyd.
Self-indulgence. That's great.
But it was only a few weeks ago. We were sitting on this panel, and I think the general consensus was that St Kilda had not lived up to the expectations that we placed on them, or they placed on themselves. You're not only eyeing September now, you must be eyeing the top 4.
Oh, no, we're still just trying to eye September. There's still too much footy in this season and still up and down. You've got to make sure you get those 12 or 13 wins first.
Well, Branny had Richmond winning the flag last week, and I had Damien coach of the year.
Richmond, don't be silly. Richmond can still win it. The Dogs last year in the last round got belted by Fremantle, came back and won it. So one swallow doesn't make a summer.
I believe, though, one thing, that you need to have played some finals in the previous year or won some finals in that build-up to winning one. So I don't think the top 8 can win it.
Joey, I wanted to ask you a question about Nick Riewoldt. It looked like on the back of Tringove last week that they sent Riewoldt to Rance, which is a job that he would have never have done before, actually going to somebody and keeping him out of the game, but Riewoldt was good enough to get the ball himself. Yeah, it was a new bow to Rui's string. The players a new string to his bow, to play as a defensive forward, but no, not really. We did want him to go to Rance just to try and use his experience to be able to quell Rance's influence, but also at the right time get off him and make him defend, and I thought in the first half Rui did that brilliantly.
Well, yourself and Rui, a lot of speculation about contracts. What's your gut feel about running around next year? Do you know about
No,
it?
I don't. I've got no idea. Nah, there's still 7 games to go plus finals. There's still a fair bit of footy. We've seen in a month how much things can change in regards to players' form, teams' form. So I'll just let it pan out.
You did a good job of it last night, though.
Well, that helps, yeah. But there's still a bit of footy to go.
Bit of a reminder.
Yeah.
Hey, Richmond captain Trent Cotchin, TJ, will face match review panel scrutiny. Look, it's probably going to be a fine. I would think it would be a fine, given what he did last night here to Loney. Open hand. It's the sort of thing the AFL have been trying to stamp out, and it clearly is at the lower end. But again, don't do it if you don't want to get yourself in the match review panel sights. And it's not the first time this year he's done this. He got a $1,000 fine for this hit on Lachie Neale, which people thought he was quite lucky for, given that was a clenched fist, and he was able to hide behind it being a jumper punch, but a little bit to wade through there, as does Membry, Joey, from your team, who did this on Grimes just before half-time. It's hard to work out intent here, and I'll let the match review panel do it, but he certainly got him. And
What's
Grimes,
hard to work out, Damo, there?
do you think there is intent? Do you think it's
I
deliberate?
just don't know why you go forward with your elbow.
Yeah, okay.
Got to protect the head.
Yeah.
And he got up remarkably with the courage he showed, but didn't take any further part in the game.
After half-time, yeah.
That's 2 or 3 weeks.
I reckon that would go very close to being referred directly to the tribunal.
You reckon it's that serious?
Oh, it's pretty bad.
It was in the marking contest, TJ, so that probably...
There's a mechanism, if you think it's 3 weeks, there's a mechanism to get it down to 2 without going to tribunal. I would think that's where it's going to lie.
Of course, there's another Richmond identity who might be looking to take someone out, that identity being Neil Baum. And this man here, Damo, what have you done to Barmy? He's one of the most affable blokes in football.
Yeah. Would you want to say what he did, or do you want me to set it up?
You set it up.
I said that there was an issue, and I just said there's one layer of this Dustin Martin story. Goes back to 2013 when Neil Baum wasn't at Richmond, so he wouldn't know what I'm talking about with this particular issue, that relates to Ralph Carr delaying this contract because he has got a long memory about Richmond pulling that contract offer. And then, it must be said, Neil Baum came back the day after very, very fired up.
All he does is, it's just one more cross against his name, isn't it? Doesn't he talk some crap? I know what he has to do. They have to say something to make themselves meaningful, and I get it. But it's just horrible. It's meaningless rubbish.
How much of that is not true then?
Probably most of it.
No, but not probably. How much of it's not true?
Well,
he said
that's the difference.
Making it tough on Richmond because of what happened last
night. No, he's
not. Well, that's what he said.
Well, that's what he said. But so he's writing a drama novel.
It's a good spray. It's a good spray.
It's as good a clip
But
as
what's
you'll
he
get.
saying? But he's not denying it.
No, he doesn't. But he just lies to the media for practice, TJ. We know he does. We did it in 2015. That spray he gave me then was nothing like what he gave me back in 2015 when he was at Collingwood.
So this is back in 2015.
Yeah, but that was a good spray.
What have you got, like some sort of like?
No, what I'm going to do now is play something where he denies something we said the previous night back then, and then you'll see it happen. This is Neil Baum on the Adam Treloar choosing Collingwood over Richmond after he's leaving GWS.
On the footy show last night, Damien Barrett.
He said
Adam Treloar, Collingwood's making him an offer of $750,000.
I can guarantee that's not true. There you are.
Okay,
Is that what you want me to say?
Well, that's the answer, Steve. Not true.
Well, there you go. I'll tell you.
Well, Treloar
do you think you'll ever get back on good terms with him? I mean, Barmy, as I said, mind you, we do joke around the office whenever you ring Barmy and say, oh, so-and-so is injured. You go, yeah, 2 weeks. So we just jot down 6. There's a bit of that going on.
What a finish for the Giants. Again, their second draw in a row. The Hawks snatched one. Final...
Joey Montagna well knows from Sorengate many years ago. Let's just listen to this now, because, and we'll have it sound up, and you'll see the siren does go. Very significantly, yeah, but the umpire did, and that's all that matters. Yeah. And as you can see, I mean, you had to watch it as much as hear it there. It did elapse the time before the ball was contacted.
Yeah. I'm with you, Damon. Just on the Hawks, they missed some golden opportunities to win this game of football. They're playing great footy now, the Hawks, but just some bad misses.
Right now is Sydney, without a doubt. They have come from the clouds after their 0-6 start. Now back, and they are scary good at the moment.
We spoke to Chris Scott last week, the Geelong coach, who was telling us they'd spend a week. The majority of the team would spend a week up there. Even he said it was a little risky. I don't think it was risky in the end.
Fantastic to see the Cats where they're sitting right now.
Tommy Lonergan to join us a little later on. He chalked up game number 200, and when you take into account what happened to him very early in his career, it's a remarkable effort, that's for sure.
And TJ, people writing off the Bulldogs on the back of their most recent loss, and Luke Beveridge post-match press conferences are always must-listen events, and this one particularly so, very reflective.
This loss, looking at that second half, is perhaps one of your worst of the season. The way you lost.
One of the worst since I've been at the club, absolutely. Yeah.
You look, at the moment, you look shattered. Do you feel that?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, we all are. we're gutted.
Luke, is this the moment that makes you ask some harder questions about what's happened to the group or what's happened this year?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And I just have.
Brownie, are they gone? Can they actually make the finals for starters, and is their premiership totally shot?
Well, their next 4 weeks is pretty winnable too, but I don't think they're playing this type of footy that should win those games. Yes, last year, but at the moment I don't think they can.
So out, that's it.
I think
like
so.
2009 Hawthorn, done.
Yes.
Hey, there was that much rain to lose by 59 points and concede 16 goals, 8. Their defence, which was manic last year, was just nowhere to be seen on Friday night.
You're the same, Lordo, as Brownie?
I think they scrape in. They're making up the numbers. That's as good as they'll do this year.
And a player that would have breathed a sigh of relief on Friday night was Rory Sloane. He didn't have a tag. He would have been pleased with that and got back to some pretty good form. I don't think it was his dominant best, but it'd be nice for Sloane, just like Jack Stephen, to find a bit of form and run around without a tag. So that was interesting by the Bulldogs to let him run free, and it certainly contributed to Adelaide's win.
All right, now it's always with a little bit of trepidation here, Joey, so you might be on the receiving end. You might even have one yourself, because it's the one part of the show that we don't discuss amongst anybody. It is Caught My Eye. And Nathan, you're the nastiest one on the panel, so you might as well kick us off.
I am not, TJ.
Yes, you are.
Clearly
look at
you
that.
are.
You're the smiling assassin.
There's a lot of rudeness going on the other night out in the crowd. Have a look at some of these supporters just giving the finger. That's not very nice. That young Saints man there just telling it how it is. I think they learn off the best. Have a look at this. This is where they've been learning this sort of stuff from. Kick the big goal and then there you go. $5,000 later.
I love this from Joey Danaher telling Braden Maynard that Fantasia's just kicked 5 on him. There it is, counting it down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Took us right back to some real arrogance from one BT. Let's have a look at Brian Taylor after this. That is just getting up in the face, telling him how good it is. You'll never see footage like that. Went on to miss the goal as well, BT.
Well, we all know Cornsey really upset Damien Hardwick, but it wasn't bad enough to have him leave the press conference like someone else in our panel did to him a few years back.
So you think it has some impact?
Absolutely, it shouldn't be done. End of story. You're the media journalist, you figure it out.
How does it impact the club, though?
Next question.
How does it impact the
Next
club?
question.
No,
Thanks, Tony.
Oh, come on.
TJ.
Yeah, I didn't... Yeah, that was his
that was
fault.
one too many.
Well done, TJ.
One too many what?
Questions.
You went 3 times.
Oh, I have a listen to you.
No, come on.
Can I tell you the thing is, I only went there because I don't normally do coaches' media
Are
conferences.
you above that?
No, I'm not. It did sound a bit like that. Yeah, actually. And I said, hey, listen, I'll swing. I dropped my daughter off at school. I'll swing by and do that. After I rang, I said, I've got a problem here, I think. So I haven't been to another one since.
I liked it.
Thanks, Dano.
Yeah, good questioning.
Yeah.
You up, TJ?
Yes, I am actually, yeah. Now, I saw this in the newspaper this morning. This is a current one. The Wiz stares into abyss. Now, poor old Warwick Capper found himself in all sorts at a hotel in Perth when he got locked in the fire escape, the stairwell. He said, I thought, I can't die in a stairwell in Perth. I'm a star. If I'm going to die, I'm going to die in Vegas. It's very unsatisfactory. Look, no, because there were 2 doors there. One said gym, one said fire escape. I can understand him getting confused. All right, we'll take a break.
What about Joey's funny?
You got one, Joey?
No, my funny was that highlight of my goal. That was
that was a funny one.
yeah.
Did the same person set you up that set him up last week?
Yeah, I think so.
No, that was funny, Joey. Yeah. Anyway, we'll take a break on the Sunday Footy Show. Back with more of the Lee Montagna Show right after this. Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. The MCG yesterday, a crowd of around 64,000 saw Essendon run out convincing winners over Collingwood. Collingwood had their moments, but unfortunately, as moments go, this was an awful, awful result for Nathan Buckley, as we spoke about in detail a little earlier this morning. Nathan.
Yeah, they were very good. The Bombers razzle-dazzle kicked 5. Danaher was very good for solo up forward, and Elliott kicked 7 between them. But the man there with 38 disposals and a very, very favourite of ours on the Sunday Footy Show, David Zaharakis. Welcome, mate.
Brownie, thanks for having me.
It was a strange first 10 minutes yesterday because it was the end of the Brisbane game, and the first 10 minutes was pretty ordinary. You couldn't get your hands on the footy, but after that you clicked into gear and it was just a procession of ball through the middle, and you played some great footy.
Yeah, I think that first 10 minutes, we spoke leading into the game that we didn't want Collingwood to chip the ball around, and when they get their uncontested chain, that's when they play good footy. And that's exactly what happened in the first quarter. Towards the end of it was unbelievable. And Collingwood were forcing errors, and that perceived pressure was forcing them to turn the ball over. And then the game just flowed from there. We were able to score off turnovers, and it was a good result.
What was said at the end of last week? Because 27 points up. Obviously, this is a huge game yesterday, which you won, but I'd imagine it was one that went missing last week.
Yeah, it was more spoken about that over the last month. We'd actually been playing some pretty good footy. I think to get up to Sydney, obviously we didn't win that game, but they come back. We still played good footy that game, and last week to get up by 27 points, but then to have a lapse obviously wasn't great. But over the sort of last month to 6 weeks, we feel like we're playing some good footy, and we've been in every single game to win it, but we just haven't won those games. So it was great that we could finish off the game yesterday.
Dave, your captain Dyson Heppel was pretty honest. He used the word selfish after the Brisbane loss, and he also spoke of honest discussions through the week. Was that a fair comment? What went on during the week?
Yeah, definitely it is. I mean, when you're playing against a side that's on the bottom of the ladder and you're up by 5 goals at home, you should just win those games, and we didn't. And yeah, we spoke about a bit of kick chasing, a bit of not defending last week when the game was on the line, and Brisbane kicked 6 goals in that last quarter, which just shouldn't happen at home.
Damo's going to talk about this in his agenda a little later on, but what was your view on Xavier Campbell's tweet last week, effectively apologising to supporters?
Yeah, I think when your emotions are high and running after that, which he spoke about, that yeah, it was a game that we shouldn't have lost. We're in a winnable position that we shouldn't have lost, and I think yeah, Twitter these days, when you type in your message on Twitter, you probably think before you text that, and he said that. It was just got emotions caught up with him.
Did you have an issue with it?
He's a CEO, he can say what he wants, and as I said, when you get emotions on the line, looking back, he might not have tweeted that strongly, but it was still, we felt anyway, within ourselves that we were disappointed that game. And if he had to come and say that to us as a group, we would have had no worries about that because we didn't play that well.
I know that Darcy Parish is going to be a good player, but I thought yesterday was just about his best game in the Bombers' colours off half-back. He really linked up and he ran well. He used the footy on occasions. He was very good.
Yeah, definitely in that third quarter especially. I think he had 10 possessions in that third quarter and really sort of kept us in the game when Collingwood really come at us. And when he can break a line, along with Andy McGrath and Connor McKenna across the midfield half-back line, it's so dangerous for us when we get the ball going through the middle.
Levi Greenwood went to Zach Merritt, and this was an ugly incident that we saw yesterday off the ball with this hit on him. Clearly, you're not happy and your team's not happy with that incident.
No, exactly. Obviously, Zach's probably our best player all year and even last year. And we knew probably Levi would go to him because he does, play that tagging role. But to do something like that, yeah, that's pretty disappointing. A few of the boys flew the flag quite highly there because Joey and Tommy Bell really wanted to protect him, and he's got a case to answer this week.
Has he apologised? Do you know?
He was pretty shattered straight after that. You could tell he didn't retaliate or anything when Tommy was going after him. So I think he realised what he did, but still, you don't want to have that in the game.
There seems to be a new language, this is to you as well, Joey, when you see incidents like that. Normally players wouldn't respond in the way that you've just mentioned then, but there's almost like a policy now to call them out, isn't there?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. I mean, when I think even Basher Hooley and then the Tom Bug incident last week, even the AFL were going after him quite heavily with a 4 and 6 week ban. So interesting to see what they do this week. But yeah, they have been handing them quite heavy penalties.
Now, Zachy, you must love having little Orazio Fantasia in the side. He looks like he's got a bit of spunk about him, but he can certainly play footy. Another 5 goals yesterday.
Yeah, he certainly can, Raz. He's an unbelievable player. He's so quick. Up forward, he's so dynamic. He was playing across half-back in his first year and a little bit up forward, and then we just realised that he's a dynamic forward and why use him off half-back when he can kick you 4 or 5 a game.
They got stuck into him too, didn't they?
Well. Yeah, they did, and a few times that's happened this year. Against Sydney, they got stuck into him before the bounce, and I think against Port Adelaide maybe. So teams are starting to realise that he's a great forward.
Does that spur him on?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, he loves the contact. Yeah, I think one of the over the boundary line yesterday, Corey Maynard and him went at it for a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds there, and he loves that.
He looks like he enjoys it.
Yeah, he enjoys it. Yeah, he doesn't mind the contact, and actually gets him up and about.
Hey, Dave, I called for you maybe to go back to the VFL earlier in the year, and it may have been a bit harsh, but I just want your last 6 or 7 weeks has been sensational. Full credit to you, but you can talk through that maybe your change in role.
Change for us, but I guess we had only a few guys going through the middle early on in the year, and we sort of spoke about that as a whole midfield group about round 6 or 7, that to get a lot of speed through there and to keep up with teams going into last quarters and stuff like that. And I guess with not just with myself, Orazio and Waller and even Darcy, I spent a lot more time in there with Job, Heppen, Mizey and Zach, and just the rotations through where you're playing wing, mid, and then also going forward. It sort of helped my role this year and moving forward, and helped a lot of the guys that we've got speed on the ball through the game in the midfield.
A number of footballers have been coming out recently and announcing new contracts and the like. They've struck deals with the club. Obviously waiting for the new pay deal to go through. Yep. Where are you at? Are you about to sign a new one?
Yeah, it's interesting that everyone keeps asking why haven't I signed, but the whole thing was they're waiting for the CBA, and then obviously Joe Danaher was the preference for the footy club to get done, which is right. He's a young kid. We needed to sign him for long term, and then
any money left?
Yeah, I don't know, Hooksy and him, and hopefully. But yeah, it was only until this week that we actually started speaking about a new offer on the table. So that's been done. So we're ready to progress that through. But it was more the fact that CBA getting done, then Joey first preference, and then now we can start talking to it. But yeah.
Well, your price would have gone up yesterday, Zaka, because you were best on ground. I thought I gave you the maximum votes out there. Horatio Fantasia just behind you. Dyson Heploth, that's his best game so far this year. And James Kelly off half-back was just dependable as always.
All right, yep. The prizes?
Yeah.
Billy's not here, so I've got the prizes, TJ.
You're just taking over everyone's
job. No, I'm not, but I'll try and do it justice, but it's a magnificent prize pack we've got. Start with the Callaway driver. Get your hands on the unbelievable GBB Epic Callaway Golf's new driver that's changing the game. The Uncle Jack watches. Zach will love these. The coolest watches available. Head to unclejackwatches.com. Australian-made gift pack. Sutton Tools is Australian family business, been manufacturing world-class cutting tools in Australia for 100 years. The tradie undies, a pack of tradie undies guaranteed. Made tradie tough. The Man Shake, a gift pack thanks to the Man Shake. Got a gut, shake it off with the Man Shake. The bar fridges, these are terrific. $300 voucher from Bar Fridges Australia. Home Timber and Hardware, the $100 voucher thanks to Home Timber and Hardware. Go where the tradies go. The Chemist Warehouse, discover the fragrance. David Beckham, respect. From Chemist Warehouse, available for just $39, and the Aquila Shoes $250 voucher.
Very good, very good.
Very good.
You are auditioning.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that at all. And this is like a Marcelin reunion here. You're both Marcelin boys, aren't you?
Yeah, both Marcelin boys. Yeah,
good stuff. And facing off on Friday night, how big is that going to be, St Kilda and Essendon?
Yeah, it's going to be a great challenge for us. They're obviously playing great footy. They've won 4 in a row, I think, now, and Friday night footy. Hopefully we can outnumber the St Kilda fans on Friday night, because I think we did that yesterday with Collingwood's home game, and it was great to see all the fans there. So hopefully they can get there Friday night, and me and Joe can go at it.
There you go, Joey, it's on.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, just you might be the undercard for Kane Corns and Damien Hardwick. Yeah, you might just be. All right, we'll take a break on the Sunday Footy Show. Still to come, Adam Tomlinson. We've also got Tom Lonergan and Tom Mitt. Is there enough Toms on this show at the moment? Eric, what are you laughing at, Kane?
Oh, the producer just said something funny in my ear, TJ.
Really?
It wasn't pot and TJ.
No, not at all.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, it was.
All right, well, I need to go upstairs in this ad break. We'll see you right after the break. Welcome back to the Sunday Footy Show. Terrific scenes here at Etihad Stadium last night.
Yeah, it was. It was a sea of purple at Etihad Stadium from Matty's vision, and I think the club and everyone involved did a great job in raising money for bone marrow failure, and there was a live band. Everything was lit up in purple, and particularly Nick put on a good show, and there's the Rewalt family. It was a special occasion for the club now. It's going to become something in the calendar regularly, and they're doing a great job, the Rewalts, to find a cure for bone marrow failure.
And this is how they did it. The Saints, 47,000 there, as Joey said. It was such an honour to be there last night. I think these two sides have done a magnificent job making this game their own, but St Kilda just brilliant right from the start, dominated the game. You thought Richmond would come back at some point, but they just never did. I thought Rewalt just outstanding on Alex Rance, as we've spoken about. Joey, fantastic himself, we'll get to him, but just the pressure you're able to put on Richmond last night, Joey, must have been a huge focus for you during the week.
Yeah, it was our focus, Kane. We know that Richmond have moved the ball really well this season. I think they're the most efficient team in the comp, so we knew we had to get in their face and apply pressure, and I thought our midfielders particularly did that really well in the first half. Kobe Stevens has been sensational for us, Jack Steele, Sebi Ross and Jack Stevens. So it started with the midfield, made it easier for us defenders, and our forwards were able to get on the end of it.
You're also able to limit Dustin Martin's influence, which not many clubs have been able to do this year. What was the plan there?
Yeah, look, Seb Ross was going to have the role on Dusty and try and really nullify him at stoppages, and then sort of as a team effort, just try and take away his kicking and his run and carry. You know, we know he's going to get the footy, but not let him have those inside 50s and shots on goal, and the team did really well in that area.
Yeah, there wasn't many stoppages. It was free-flowing open in the game, but Billy Longer, I thought his best game probably probably for the year last
Yeah,
night.
Billy was sensational. I think he smacked Dan Curvis in the hit-outs, and he's growing with confidence each week. He's starting to take some marks around the ground, and he's really one that's benefited with a bit more self-belief.
Hey, Joe, you had a period maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago where you just were underperforming against good sides in the Swans, but even the Bulldogs as well. What do you reckon's changed, or what did you have to adjust?
Yeah, well, we felt we probably just got a little bit too conservative with the ball. We probably tried to overthink our ball use a bit too much, try and build it up a bit slower, and we just lost our sort of instinctiveness of playing football. So that has been our focus since the bye, was just to play more instinctive, move the ball a bit more freely, get to the contest and just play footy, and I think it's worked in our favour.
Hey, Josh Bruce has been brilliant since he's come back in. Obviously, Paddy McCartan's the one that's out at the moment. We've got some vision of him training here. Membry probably goes out with his hit this week, which maybe gives Paddy an opportunity. But I've been doing the sums, and when you and Rewalt haven't played this year, or when you have, you're 9-2. So it's a big thing for... I'm pushing for the Montagna Rewalt bandwagon to stay on to St Kilda.
Yeah, no, look, as we said, we've got those 4 tall forwards. Brucey got dropped, you're right, and since he's come back in the side, we've played some really good footy, and he has too. You're right, looks like Membry will probably miss a couple of weeks, so it might give Paddy a chance again. He only just failed his concussion test, or a part of it, last week, so he'll be available for selection. But our forward line's functioning really well since the bye. We've actually moved the ball really well. We haven't made the most of opportunities in front of goal. Last night was much better, but our forwards are working well.
And a stat that stood out to me, Brownie and Joey last night, Saints had 110 more disposals, yet laid 13 more tackles than Richmond. That's how intent they were on their defensive side. Here's the votes. Seb Ross is just having some sort of year, 9 votes. Rewalt just thought he was terrific, not only for the numbers, but his influence on Alex Rance. Longer the ruckman, his best game, as I said, and Montagna Joey was outstanding off half-back with 31 and 2 long goals in that second quarter.
Terrific stuff. Still to come on the program, we'll catch up with Tom Mitchell and also Adam Tomlinson from the GWS Giants. In fact, Adam's sitting over at the McCafe as we speak. I think you're going to give Matty a helping hand with the Australian Team of the Year by the looks of things.
I'm not sure he will, TJ, because I've left out 2 Giants players, which he cannot believe I've just done. So Toby Green and Dylan Shield goes out, and also Gary Ablett, and they're all in great form. It's just a matter of trying to fit other players in. So yeah, they're the 3 players that go out. If we can take a look at this week's team. Eddie Betts, I know he isn't in red-hot form, but still 39 goals as a small forward, exceptional. That man, Dane Zorko, again, 4 goals. And Tom Mitchell, I've probably overlooked a fair bit, but his weight of numbers and the damage he's now doing for Hawthorn deserves his spot.
Lloydie, I'll ask you a question with Joey. They're 5th on the ladder, pushing towards top 4, and there's not too many Saints players up there.
You know, I had Seb Ross in earlier, Joey, but who would be the one you think that could...
Seb Ross, has his form dropped away, has it?
Oh, no, they don't drop away. I'm just saying, just these, who do you replace? That's the problem. I'd love to fit 26 players in, but you can't. So, anyway, take one out. Take one out.
Nah, I won't do that. Nah, he's had a great season, though, Sebby Ross.
Yeah. All right, terrific stuff. Matthew Lloyd's Australian-made Team of the Year. Let's turn our attention now to the Sydney Swans. They're up against the Gold Coast and, quite frankly, put the witches' hats out in a lot of, like moments of this game.
They were very good early, the Gold Coast Suns, and they pushed Sydney. They're actually in front at quarter time.
Down their hunger again.
You're right. They've just got their hard edge back, and that's very obvious.
Yeah. There's the votes there. Gary Rowan, Rampy was really good, buddy, and that man, Jake Lloyd, just racked them up again.
Good work, Nath. All right, there they are, the 2 of them now over at the McCafe. We've got Adam Tomlinson and Tom Mitchell. They'll be going head-to-head, as they did yesterday. They'll be going head-to-head on the panel. Well, I'm just building that up a little bit. I'll tell you, also, and there's Jaylene behind. Give us a wave, Jaylene. Look, you do a great job, don't you? There you go. Good work. Now, also coming up after the break, not only those 2 lads, but the barrel. Kane?
Oh, it's me again,
You're
is
not
it?
going
Yeah.
there, it's not Damien Hardwick.
No, I'm not going to line up Damien Hardwick.
I don't want to give too much away, but one of those boys sitting over there ain't going to be too happy about it.
In a good way. In a good way.
I don't know about that.
No.
I think you might be asking it.
You're not going to tag us again.
All right, we'll take a break here on the Sunday Footy Show. Welcome back. You're watching the Sunday Footy Show, whatever you're doing today. Hope you enjoy it. This is the big moment now. This is the one you've been waiting for. Joey, take it away.
Oh, thanks, TJ. No, it was a terrific game yesterday down in Launceston, and as we see there, it was a draw, and Lloydie touched on it earlier that Hawthorn probably blew their opportunities, but we see there Tommy Mitchell again racking up 39 touches, sensational season. Billy Hartung and Sean Burgoyne, and Josh Kelly continued his sensational season for GWS, and we welcome our 2 guests, Adam Tomlinson and Tom Mitchell. Tom, I'll start with you. Did you hear the siren? Were you aware that the siren went before Ryan Burton punched it through?
Yeah, I did hear the siren. I think the coaches, they didn't hear it, so I think they might have been celebrating, thinking we won the game. So, but yeah, we definitely heard it. I think we were a split second behind, so Yeah, that's our hands on the footy and got it going our way, but, you know, we're just a second too late. Yeah, the Giants, you know, they had a great game as well, and they fought back and hit the lead, and, you know, it was a really great game of footy.
What about from your end, Adam? You're under siege there in defence.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I didn't hear the siren. I was in that bit of play, and I was trying to punch it out of bounds, but no, I thought we lost, and then turned around and everyone said the siren had already gone. So I was probably a tiny bit relieved in the fact that we ended up drawing the game, but no, it was a really tough game, and yeah, that last set of bounds, I'm sure we'll have a look and see what went wrong, and yeah.
Tom, when you change clubs, could you believe the start of the year the Hawks had and the start of the year Sydney had? I mean, when you leave a footy club, you want your old teammates to do well, but you would have been surprised they were 0-6, but you would have been in the own situation wanting Hawthorn to do well to frank your move to them.
Yeah, it was a little bit surprising. Obviously, you know, Sydney's a quality team, and we're seeing that in the last few weeks how good of a side they are. So I think everyone was a little bit surprised, you know, at their win-loss record, similar to Hawthorn, like you mentioned. So both teams have kind of turned things around a little bit, but you know, there's still a fair way to go in the season, so we'll have to see how things pan out.
Now, we'll see here the goal from Will Langford to... this you've been on the wrong end of this sort of kick from Will Langford in the 2014 Grand Final. We see here he's got this knack of being able to get the ball to pop up and over it. Is that something he's practising at training or what? Because, yeah, it's twice he's been able to do that.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. He's probably, knowing Langers, he's probably claiming it as, you know, that's what he's trying to do. So, you know, it was probably a bit of a lucky bounce, but, you know, I'm sure Langers will be trying to claim it.
Adam, the injuries are piling up a little bit. Any players expected?
Overachieved or underachieved, because we back the players who come into the side to sort of perform. We do sort of back ourselves to find a way and grind, and we've shown that. I mean, obviously with 2 draws, but we played against West Coast over in Perth, Richmond and Collingwood. They're all some really tight games where we found a way to sort of found a way to win. So we sort of prided ourselves on that. We know that we're not playing our best footy, and we've got to find sort of consistent of 4 quarters worth of footy. But I mean, that's what the whole season's for, and hopefully we get that form later on.
Tom, what's been the turnaround? You know, the past 6 weeks at Hawthorn. Has there been 1 or 2 things, or has it just clicked?
I'm not too sure. I think, you know, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We're still obviously in the bottom half of the ladder. But, you know, obviously being led by Clarko, who's, you know, one of the greatest coaches ever coached, and with all his experience, and the leaders like Hodgie and Ruffy and Gibbo and those guys, just being guided through their experience. You know, all us younger guys are learning a lot from him. And I think our side yesterday, we had a really young team in, and it was great exposure for everyone who played to, you know, playing a tight game like that. I'm sure we'll learn a lot from it. You never want to get ahead of yourself, otherwise you'll have Kane tweeting about you.
Adam, your form's been really good, really consistent. You're playing the tools, you're playing the smalls, but yesterday, 520 metres gain from you.
Get to take the tools and work really closely with him, and he's taught me a lot through my sort of the last 12 months, especially because I sort of played all over the ground. But it's love working with Phil and Shaw in the back line.
And players have a lot to weigh up when they get offers from other football clubs, and you had a few offers a couple of years ago, and whether you move in a state, what the new players are going to be like. But I've got it on good authority that you didn't leave because of a girl. Is that true?
No, I wouldn't say that's completely true. She's probably had an influence on some of the decisions, well, not decisions, but reasons. But yeah, no. Amy, the lovely lady, she has kept me in Sydney.
Well done. Let's take a look.
So she has kept you in Sydney.
Let's take a look at the votes, and that man next to TJ, exceptional again. He got 9. Patton with 5. He's in rare form. Ward was terrific, and Josh Kelly keeps getting it done. He had 34 and 10 tackles yesterday.
All right, when you talk about rivalries, both of these boys are facing up to rivalries next weekend. You've got Sydney and you've got Hawthorn.
Geelong.
Oh, Geelong. Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Matthew.
That's right. No.
Yeah.
I just didn't want him thinking of having an intra-club.
And also, all of your teammates, I don't think he would have thought that, Matthew. He would have known it was an honest mistake on my part, and he would have just answered it.
I didn't know what to say.
But so your teammates have headed home to Sydney, so you're on the same flight as these blokes last night,
I was.
So where were you sitting?
I was at the front of the plane in business class, and I had to say hello to all the boys as they walked by and went to the tail. So.
Oh, there you go. All right, well, thanks for coming in, fellas. We've got some great prizes for you, but stay around because you in particular, Tom, I think you might enjoy this. Yeah, right. This is the barrel from Kane, the man who does it like no one else.
Well, let's do it because I just cannot believe that opposition sides don't pay this man enough respect. Once again, yesterday, 39 disposals, 10 tackles. He had 10 clearances, I should say. 9 score involvements, yet no tag from Adams. The Giants, let's take a look at this. 12 consecutive times he's had 30 or more disposals. That is a record. He's averaging 36 on the season. And I look at Hawthorn's midfielders, with all due respect, underneath him, there's Shields, there's Howe, there's Langford, there's Burgoyne, who's nearly 35 years of age, and Isaac Smith, not in his best form. I just cannot understand why you wouldn't spend more time shutting him down, because if you do, there's not much after him with the depth in the midfield. And Chris Scott and Geelong, you'd want to pay him some respect this week, or otherwise the Hawks will upset you this weekend.
What do you reckon about that?
I'm not too sure. It's a fair rap from Kane, but I'm not too sure. Obviously, I think a lot of the guys in our midfield probably don't get the credit they deserve. Guys like Langford and Shields and Howe, they don't play crucial roles for us. So it's been a collective effort so far, and hopefully we can keep working together.
Single-handedly trying to revive the Tigers, a bit like VCR tapes.
Well, Brownie, you're a smart man.
Oh, come on.
He's the one. he's
the dumbest thing you've said.
The one midfielder that dominates every week. Yet I'm yet to see anyone pay him the respect he deserves.
Yeah, it's fair enough.
All right, then. Thanks for coming in, boys. Safe trip back, Adam.
Thank you.
We'll take a break on the Sunday Footy Show. Tom Lonergan from the Cats to join us right after this. Welcome back. You're watching the Sunday Footy Show. Joey Montagna, is this bloke flying or what? Mate, you are in rare form on this panel today.
Joey.
You are just in rare form, my friend. Keep it going. All right, let's turn our attention to the Gabba. This was a clash between Brisbane and Geelong. Look, the Lions actually started off okay, but then that 10-goal second quarter did the job, didn't it?
Yeah, impressive, the Cats last night. Zorko, what a game and what a year he's putting together. 4 goals. A lot of possessions. Tommy Hawkins 4, Dangerfield 3, and Dangerfield phenomenal again, along with Duncan, the underrated Cat star, and Lockie Henderson 27 disposals. But last night was all about Tom Lonergan, our guest this morning. It was his 200th game. Tom joins us from the airport in Brisbane. Congratulations. We unite. I'm sure you'll never forget.
Yeah, it was, Lloydie. It was a great night to celebrate with my teammates and obviously all my family come up from a few times during this week. Lloydie, I didn't expect to get back and play another game, let alone 200. So I was just wanted to get back to full health, and I'm here like to play 200 games. Something I'm really proud of.
Tom, it was your 7th game when you had that incident and lost your kidney. You spoke about you didn't know whether you'd get back.
Yeah, I think early days I felt that I hadn't really forged a career for myself, and footy was something I was really passionate about. I wanted to continue with footy, and that's the reason why I kept playing. And Geelong gave me a couple of chances early on in my career where they probably could have cut me loose, so I really wanted to repay them. And I learned a lot of lessons from Brendan McCartney and Bomber Thompson, and that held me in good stead throughout my career. So I was lucky to learn a lot early days and get a lot of continuity in my career from then on.
You haven't changed the way you play at all. Do you ever have second thoughts when you're running back with the flight of the ball?
At times I do. I mean, I know which side I haven't got a kidney in, so I can go back with that on that side and know that I won't get hit in it. So that's probably a pleasing thing. But look, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't.
Okay, we'll take a look at some of the game highlights last night.
The later part of the year.
Tommy, I want to ask about an underrated player. We always talk about Dangerwood, but Mitch Duncan's year has been phenomenal. Another 38 possessions and 2 goals last night. He's having
been fantastic all year.
Hey, Tommy, Danger had a massive week. 38 disposals, 3 goals. He was absolutely fantastic. He had a baby. Did you know that?
Very different to what the normal would be.
Yeah, it was. Most of the squad come up to the Gold Coast on Sunday after the GWS game. There's a few of us that went back to Geelong, guys that had family duties or commitments. So Paddy, obviously, with his wife, it was due come back, and I went back to Geelong. Bit of daddy daycare, and a few other guys did as well. And look, we've got a really good program. Chris and Steve Hocking put together a fantastic program, so a lot of flexibility. And we got back to the Gold Coast on Thursday and had a really good training session and took that in Saturday night, so it worked out well.
Yeah, just on the Brisbane Lions, had 8 players that had 10 disposals or less and 90 less disposals, so got beaten up by a very, very good football side. But just on the votes, Zorko, I've given 9 votes to. What a game He had 36 disposals, 10 clearances, 12 tackles and 4 goals. Dangerfield did his thing. Duncan, as Joey just said, and Lockie Henderson had 27 off halfback.
All right, Tom, we appreciate your time this morning. Again, congratulations on the milestone. 200 games is just sensational in anyone's book. And safe trip home, and maybe you can bring some of that Brisbane sunshine back with you.
Yeah, hope so. Good on you guys.
Tom Lonigan joining us there. Right, here's Nathan Brown with his injury report.
A knock to that and he can come back. We've already seen this one and we think that Jack Grimes, hopefully he's okay. They're going to assess the damage, but he played out, then came back off, and he couldn't quite play the game out. So our good friends at Chemist Warehouse now got something very special from the Chemist Warehouse boys. Our good friends at Chemist Warehouse, have a look at this, are launching a competition trying to find the next face of their Zipped Man fragrance. If you think you have what it takes to be the latest face of the Zipped Man, head to chemistwarehouse.com.au/ZippedLegend to enter, and I would like to make an entry right now from one of our very special panellists to go into the Zipped Man, and that is Matty Lloyd. So if you're looking for somebody, Chemist Warehouse, here is your man, the great Matthew Lloyd, who gave me that photo to enter on his behalf.
Men's for all seasons calendar that was, TJ.
Yeah, we know where it was.
You still got it up on your wall at home, have you?
No.
What were you, Mr. What?
What's that? I think Mr. April.
How appropriate. All right, we'll take a break on the Sunday Footy Show. Terrific scenes there from Ringwood earlier in the week. This was the Little Legends, and all the Thursday night Footy Show boys were there, and girls, but no one from this panel. Where was everyone? Why didn't you go out there? Why weren't you there pressing the flesh with all the kiddies?
Preparing for Footy Classified, TJ.
Well, it was on Tuesday.
Monday morning, that was.
Was that Monday morning?
Yes, it was, yeah.
What, you prepare for Footy Classified?
Do you? Oh, the show's been going a long time.
Okay, all right. And of course, Kane is going to be, but we'll talk about that in the next segment. You weren't there?
9 to 5 job and 4 kids, so I couldn't quite get out there.
What, selling candles?
Yeah.
That's 9 to 5, a full-time job.
Pretty much, yep.
Oh, please. Now, also, I just want to make mention, Tom Mitchell left this behind. This is Dallas Willsmore jumper, and this is the jumper that they were wearing in Launceston yesterday. These are online now, so if you want to buy one, jump online. The website there, hawksnestauctions.com.au, and 100% of the proceeds from these actually go to the Cancer Council of Tasmania. A very, very worthy cause. All right, Damo's back now with his Sunday agenda.
Hello, TJ. In a week where Tom Boyd and the Western Bulldogs went public with the issues he's dealing with clinical depression, interesting to hear on Friday night Josh Gibson, a 3-time premiership player with Hawthorn, also speak of the stresses involved with playing footy in 2017.
I've dealt with severe anxiety in the past, and I've seen psychologists, and there's times when you're playing footy that it can get tough when you're dealing with things like that, and there's media scrutiny and all these things, and it doesn't help, and it piles up on guys. And for me, there's been definitely maybe articles at times that have really heightened my anxiety, and it's about just being able to deal with it. And I think day age we're in now, it's a lot easier to speak to people and feel confident about talking up about those things as a footballer.
That's Josh Gibson there on SEN on Friday night. Joey, I know last year a footy club official at one club said there were 11 players receiving some form of regular treatment for mental health issues, some extreme, some not so. What are you experiencing in your time now that's different to what it was when you first started?
Oh, look, I think the whole time I've played, there's been guys that have suffered anxiety and that intense pressure of playing football. I do think the social media aspect is really starting to wear on players and that negativity out there. But certainly it's not uncommon to hear Josh Gibson say that there's been a lot of players that really struggle to actually go out and play. They enjoy the Monday to Friday training and hanging out with their teammates, but actually getting out there and playing and feeling all the eyes of the world watching them can really bother some players.
Are you on social media? Are you on Twitter?
No, I don't for that reason. No.
It can be a vile forum, absolutely vile. And I think Gil McLaughlin was spot on, wasn't he, Damo, when he suggested footballers should get off it?
He is, but it's easy for someone like him to say that at his age and demographic because, Joey, as you know, you go into a footy club now, it's all you've known all your life. You're actually on social media. It's part of your life as much as anything else you do. So I think it's easier for someone that age, TJ, to say get off it.
It can be fun and it can be informative, but as you know, Damien, I mean, you cop it more than anyone I know, I reckon. It can be vile.
Oh, it is, but you just need to realise it's part of it. Just from what I'm saying, I know what Joey's saying too. Hey, you spoke with David Zarakis before about Xavier Campbell, the Chief Executive of Essendon's tweet last week after the loss to the Brisbane Lions. I don't think he was all that happy with it. Xavier Campbell apologised on radio yesterday.
I was too emotional.
and too direct. When I got up Monday morning, I thought it was a touch too direct and a touch too emotional. And I got on the front foot. I didn't have anyone from the club or the playing group or the coaches say that they didn't agree with it. But for me, on reflection, it was probably something that it was probably just that touch too far.
Xavier Campbell saying we went
didn't
too
need
far.
to apologise
I don't think he
for
had
that.
any issue. He's allowed to, as CEO, do what he wants, and he was
Absolutely.
accurate with what he tweeted. And I reckon if you do it, don't back away from it, stick by it.
A little bit of coaching there from Damo to the CEO of the club. Good on you, Damo. Thanks for that big week in store for you, I'm sure. Let's cast our mind back now to the Adelaide Oval on Friday night. Atrocious conditions and an atrocious result if you're a Doggies fan.
Yeah, it was. Jenkins and Walker were sensational. Too big in the air for Cordy and also Fletcher Roberts. Here's my votes. Jenkins and Walker, Laird and Crouch. It was 11 goals to 1, the Crows way after half-time.
All right, let's update the Lou Richards leaderboard, and you can see way out on top, still way out on top, is Patrick Dangerfield. He might be behind the wheel of this.
This year's Lou Richards medal is brought to you by the Isuzu D-Max. The winning player will receive $20,000 cash and nominate the junior club of their choice to receive a brand new Isuzu D-Max. Go your own way.
But wait, there's more, and it's all coming up right after the break.
Jason Ackermanis knew he was good, but even he surprised himself in two of the most unbelievable minutes of football in 2005. In wet and slippery conditions at the Gabba, Ackermanis' wizardry went to the next level. Hate him, he was unbelievable.
Yeah, pretty quiet these days too, Jason Ackermanis. He was in the paper, every day there at one point, but we haven't heard from him for a while. You guys would have played against him.
Yeah,
well, you too.
Yep, I tagged him actually one day early in my career. Far out. That was hard work.
Would there be a better, obviously Sam Mitchell's one now, but left and right foot kick in the game than Jason Ackermanis?
Not to be able to kick 60 metres like he could on both feet. It was phenomenal.
All right. Now, just a reminder, Footy Classified coming up tomorrow night at the special time of 9:45. But you want to talk about special with Footy Classified, who's your special guest panellist?
The man of my
life.
Yes, he's worked his way in.
Everyone gone on holidays or something?
They must have, TJ, they must have. But Ross Lyon to join us will be good.
Your mate?
Yeah, it'll be good chat.
Yeah,
Always
absolutely it will be.
Must watch TV.
Must watch TV. Kane Corns and Ross Lyon, and of course the other people on the panel. All right, and the Footy Show on Thursday night at 8:30. Still the original, still the best. And the guests, Trent Cotchin, no less, makes his debut on the Footy Show as a panellist. Good week to be doing that.
I know, but it's all right. And Luke Hodge is also a guest, which will be fantastic.
Yeah, coming up to game number 300. Right, let's head over to the Plasma again. He's done some fine work at the Plasma today. Here's Nathan.
TJ, 24 up promo. How much do you reckon we've paid out on punters who have had their bet and their teams lost?
I've got no idea.
$3 million so far in the 24 up promo. So even if your team loses, but they get 24 up, we paid out. Let's have a look at the games today. And there's a couple of rippers on as well. The first one, West Coast and Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide, Kane, played 5 times against top 8 sides this year without a win. So West Coast at home, where the money has been. The line on this one's only about 4.5. So West Coast for me on that one. And then Fremantle and North Melbourne. North Melbourne were $1.60 yesterday. So they've had money last night and yesterday. So they've come in. North Melbourne have won 7 of their last 8 against Freo at Etihad Stadium. So not in great form either side. And then this one, all the money has been on the Blues. They're still the outsiders, but there's no Viney in the middle. There's no Tyson in the middle. So that's where the money has come for the Blues on this occasion. And we've got a mega bet for this game. How good's Liam Jones been going? Liam Jones took 9 marks last week. Can he go one better? 10 marks for Liam Jones. It's been a Lazarus story, $8. But we've also got one last mega bet to go through on the back of Kane Corns' shenanigans. Kane Corns and Damien Hardwick. $1.01 Damien Hardwick is. This is going to be the undercard for the next Pacquiao fight. And you've got Chad. I don't do that. I'm not sure how you do that, but you need Chad. Maybe Graham will come in at the end with a bit of a roundhouse style, but I think Dimmer might have the chocolate on that one. Gamble responsibly.
I'd spell responsibly too if I was you. You know the interesting thing, how long did he spend over there in the ad break?
I know.
And you said, just want to make sure there's no errors. Massive. You'll have to apologise. He is going through a nasty spell at the moment. Hey, Joey, thanks for coming on today, mate.
Thank you. Yeah,
and you're welcome anytime.
Thank you.
Take anyone's seat. Oh, sorry, anyone's seat at all. Right? Right, you do that. All right, and all the best for the remainder of the season too. Going great guns. All right, that's it for this edition of the Sunday Footy Show. Enjoy the rest of your day. We'll see you soon.